Hey, Danielle, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, and obviously, I'm sure you get it all the time, but you know everybody's like your biggest fan, so I'll go ahead and throw that out there and get it out of the way.
Thank you.
Okay, but we're talking about Camp Dread, and I guess my first question would be in regards to the film itself. You play the sheriff of the town, and I was curious to the backstory that was involved when you're speaking with Eric Roberts and you're talking about how your father was the previous sheriff. Was that something that was already written in the script, or is that like a backstory that you guys kind of created to give a little bit
No,
more?
that was written. It was just it essentially made it sort of more believable for me that I kind of come in with a bit of an attitude,
Hmm.
and I don't trust him really to begin with, but. I need it to happen, and I don't trust him because I had, some issues with, he had issues with my dad. My dad never really liked him.
Right,
So I kind of wanted him to know, like, in respect of my father, you're not going to fuck with me.
right, right, right,
You're not going to, he didn't like you, and that means I don't like you. So watch your ass.
right, right,
So, which is, which is funny because Eric had said to me when I did the scene, he told me that I was coming off really unlikable, and I was like, I don't like you.
right.
My father doesn't like you, I don't like you. And he was like, okay. So, I thought it was kind of funny.
Okay, so like with Eric Roberts, I mean, the guy is just like a pro. He's a seasoned vet. He's been in so many films. Is this the first time you've ever worked with him, and how was the experience working with him?
Yeah, first time I ever worked with him. It was good. We didn't unfortunately get to work too much together.
Right.
We only worked for 2 days essentially. We had 2 scenes, so I didn't get a chance to really get into anything super meaty with him. But it's just nice to go back and forth and have a banter and to do scenes with someone that has worked as much as he has. So
Okay.
I rarely. I've been actually pretty fortunate that I get to work with all these kind of older men that have these kick-ass careers from, like Lance Henriksen to Michael Rooker
Right.
to, Malcolm McDowell, Brad Dourif. Like I actually kind of have a pretty awesome collection of pretty rad actors that have gotten a chance to play opposite. And so it's nice. I mean, rarely would I be the leading lady opposite these men because they're older than me, so I didn't get the chance back in the 80s, but
Mhm.
it's nice to have that opportunity now.
And are you a fan of all these guys? Some of these that you've been working with, you're familiar with their work and
Yeah.
everything.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been grown up watching movies and grown up watching a lot of their movies, so not necessarily, I don't really know most of these actors from their genre films.
Hmm.
I know them from other films, but yeah, I've always been pretty excited to get the opportunity to work with these guys. I was excited to work with Eric.
Okay, so you were only your shots were only a matter of 2 days that you said that you were doing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so how was it working with Harrison Smith? How did you like his directing style?
He's great. He's great. I mean, I just really like Harrison as a human being, and he's very kind, and he listens, and he's excited, and he's talented, and I thought the writing was great. And, I love Felissa. She's a friend of mine, so it seemed like the right thing to do at the right time. And come on, who's going to give me a shot at playing the sheriff? I thought
Right.
that was pretty awesome, too.
How was it
Like,
being on that
yeah,
set?
I can be it. Like, why couldn't I be the sheriff?
Right.
Like, yeah, of course I can be the sheriff. So, I know how to shoot guns. Come on, I have a bunch of them in my house. So I thought that was pretty cool, and it's always kind of nice to work with new directors that
Mhm.
have that drive, and that the instincts aren't sort of tarnished by being around for too long and kind of losing faith in the system. So I think that it's nice to kind of get a hold of, right out of college, sort of. I mean, he's obviously not, but that like brush into film. Sort of, and he's been doing it for a little while, but we sat down and I sort of talked to him about, like, hey, have you ever worked with difficult actors?
Mhm.
Hey, check this story out, check that story out. Like,
Mhm.
this is, what about this, or what about that, or this is a great way for you to handle that situation, or this is what I've seen on a set. So we definitely had a trusting, open, fun relationship, and I talk to him all the time.
Awesome.
So it's rare that I talk to someone as much, but yeah, he's been texting me nonstop with all of his interviews. I'm like, I love you, dude, but I'm not going to read all of your interviews.
It's like, I do have a life.
I mean, some really don't read mine, so.
So, all right, in regards to your role, as a person who yourself has been involved in, I mean, so much stuff, and you've been doing this for such a long time, how was it, the transition from you kind of, in a sense, being like the victim or the scream queen to like being the role of like a law officer, where that's normally what we wouldn't see from you in a film?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's easier. You know?
Not getting chased.
There's only so many times. Yeah, I mean, I'm at a point in my life, I think, where I really can't and don't have the desire to be one of the kids at the camp. Like,
Right.
I've just done it so many times that at that point you're like, this isn't really fun for me anymore, to do that stuff. So Phyllis's role would have been something that would have been really cool to do. But obviously, that's hers. Specifically for her. So, but stuff like that, it just sort of shows that, I'm kind of maturing in this community, and people are accepting of that, which is nice, because there was a good 10-year period where I still get it, where I get, when I'm part of the college kids, or I'm part of the group, and listen, I'm 36, so it's like, can't really pull that off. Kind of people think that I still can, but kind of over it. So it's nice to be on the other side of it for once.
Awesome. And one of the things that we recently watched was the Holliston DVD that just recently came out. Yeah, and actually got a chance to speak to Adam Green about it as well for a while. And when one of the things that sticks out, especially when you enter in on certain episodes, is how you're constantly being the person who's like, hey, I get this at all the conventions, I get this at all, how real is that for you in your life, where it's almost like when you go to a convention, you have like this legion of, especially guys and girls of this day and age, who are like, oh my God, that's Jamie Lloyd, that they're trying to come talk to.
Yeah. I mean, I still can't believe that it still happens. You know what I mean? Like, it's been so many years that it's still a trip for me to have people get excited about it, or say, like, I've always wanted to meet you and I've never met you. It's like, I've been around for a while and kind of popping in and out here and there, so it's a bit of a trip. But it's also like, when I came back, I created a new generation of fans too with the Hatchet movies. Also, I mean, a lot of the Hatchet fans are Halloween fans. It's the same age group. It appeals to the same age, whereas the new Halloweens were a little bit different. So all of a sudden I started having younger fans, and they were like, oh my God, I knew from your Annie, and then I watched these old movies, and you're that girl too. So
right.
It's kind of funny, because, you know what I mean? It's like, oh honey, I was always that girl.
Right.
Jamie playing Annie. I've never been Annie. I mean, I am now, but, I've always been Jamie and then Annie. So it's interesting to kind of watch that, my career sort of came full circle with the same franchise. So
for sure.
Pretty awesome.
For sure. Now, with the film like Camp Dread, one of the things that stuck out to me immediately upon watching the film is it really, in a sense, is paying homage to those films that, we watched in the 80s and stuff, that were the, sleepaway camps and things like that. Like, why is it that you think that these films are just going to never go away in regards to horror, and people are still making films like this? Because even at recent conventions like Horror Hound and stuff like that, I ran into a couple new independent directors that are up and coming, and these guys are also making the kids out in the camps and in the woods getting killed by a killer. Like, why do you think these films will just never go away in the horror genre?
I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think that when people try to, it gets to be too much. I mean, I'm in the middle of getting ready to direct something and talking to my fellow producer yesterday, and some of the things that she was coming up with me, trying to change the story a bit, and I just keep going back to, it doesn't need to be complicated.
Right.
It just doesn't need to be this complicated. We feel like we have to do something that's never been done before in order for it to be good, and that's not true. Everyone tries to make it the next whatever. And you know what? Just stick to what you know, and just perfect that. So I think that there's a very basic sort of like strategy to making, strategy is the wrong word, like there's a structure. There's a very basic structure to a good genre film, and I think that when you look around at those conventions, like I said, I don't know how old you are, but I'm assuming you're probably close to my age.
35.
Everyone, see, I'm 36, so everyone is that is really still in love with horror they are our age.
Right.
So they're still, and the filmmakers are generally our age. So they're going to make what they grew up with.
Right.
And it's going to be Sleepaway Camp. It's going to be Halloween. It's going to be Nightmare. It's going to be all those movies that we grew up with. So I think that that's who's making movies, and the ones that are making the Paranormal Activity movies are a little bit younger than us. And if we go to movies where I'm like, I don't really know if that's my thing. Like,
Right.
I'd rather kind of watch old school stuff.
Okay. Okay.
So
And
I think it's just a little bit different.
And that's awesome because that's exactly what I was leading into next is it seems like me personally, I'm a proponent of, hey, like I understand the love and the passion that we all have for the films that we watched growing up, but I'm also, ready to promote like the new age of horror, the new directors, the new companies that are coming out and putting out films. Do you feel that the direction that horror is kind of taking, especially in regards to like the mainstream audience, is good, or is it still that we're kind of stuck in this rut that maybe we can never get out of the, we have to have the supernatural, we have to have the zombies, we have to have, the creatures from the deep. Do you feel that the progression in horror is actually substantial now, or is it still kind of like sitting in like the dark ages of like the golden ages, I guess, of horror from the 80s?
I mean, I don't really know where you go. I think that there's different types of horror movies. I think it just depends, like, either you watch Star Wars or Star Trek. I think it just sort of, well, you watch both, but I think it just sort of depends on what your flavor is, I think it depends on what day of the week it is. I mean, there's times where I want to sit down and watch a sci-fi movie, and there's times I want to sit down and watch a slasher film, and there's times I want to watch a romantic comedy, or I want to watch The Muppets. Like,
Right.
It just really depends on, what you're feeling and kind of where you are in your life, and I think that there's a little bit something out there for everyone. So I don't think that the old school film is going to go away because they are great for what they are, and it makes us feel like we're home. It's like bringing us back to what we grew up with, and that always feels good when E.T. comes on or Wizard of Oz comes on during Thanksgiving. Like, you're going to watch it.
Right.
You suddenly go back to how you were when you were a little kid.
A Christmas Story.
And that's great. Absolutely. Like, you can't have without that thing running 24 hours a day.
Exactly.
And that's why it still works. So, but I think that there's, I think that it's wonderful to support new filmmakers that are trying to do something different. But like I said, as long as it's not convoluted and complicated, as long as it's still simple. And listen, there's some things that are, you have to work within your budget too. I mean, you've got to think about that. People are trying to do things that don't have the money to do. It's like, we can't all make Avatar.
Right. Exactly.
So I think, you really have to know what the reality of this is. And just as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, I feel like you're going to be successful at it. It doesn't matter if it's, found footage or if it's a zombie thing or if you love that as a filmmaker, you're going to make it great. It just depends. You have to I've gotten so many opportunities to either be in or direct things that just haven't really resonated with me. And I don't really want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So people don't understand because it's, a great thing or it's a big deal or it's a big paycheck or whatever, but that doesn't, I have to go to work I have to go to work.
Right.
And I don't ever want it to be work or I wouldn't do what I do.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's hard, but I don't want to ever feel like, I don't want to do this.
Okay.
So there's definitely been times on a set after a while where you're like, oh my God,
same
I
old,
got myself into.
Right. Awesome.
But overall, I think that it's all good.
Okay, cool. So you mentioned that you and Felissa Rose are friends. She is phenomenal in this film. Like her character is so underrated. Like it really, really helps keep the film together. Was she the one that got you involved in Camp Dread, or how did?
Yeah.
Okay, how did that come to be?
Well, we all talk, so it's always funny when I get random emails or people come up to me or call my representation about, oh, I'm doing this movie and so-and-so's in it, and so-and-so's in it, and so-and-so's in it, and I go, oh, cool. And I call up that person and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So we all talk to each other in this community. So Felissa called me and said, there's this director that I've worked with who I'm very good friends with, and he's wonderful, and there's this script, and, it's kind of paying homage to, Miles movies, and I would love for you to be in it, and, I think that it's to play the sheriff, how cool is that, and, we don't have any scenes together, but, we'd be there at the same time, we can hang out, and blah, blah, blah. So, I sent it off to me, so she sent it to me, and I was like, this is actually a really cool idea. And I'm totally into doing it. So then I talked to Harrison, and he's a sweetheart. So I was like, all right, I'm totally in.
Awesome.
So that's pretty much last question.
Okay. And then once again, thank you so much for your time, Danielle. I really appreciate it. And really, my last question is just what anyone would want to know coming from you. Is there anything going on with you that we should be excited for, or that you're excited to talk about in the near future?
Let's see. I think the next thing that I'm actually really excited about is I'm the lead in See No Evil 2.
Oh.
That the Soska twins directed.
Yep, I talk to them all the time. They're great.
They're great. We have an October release for that. So that role made what I did in Hatchet 2 and 3 together look easy, put it that way.
Awesome.
So I think that I'm very excited to see that movie.
Okay, great. Well, once again, thank you so much for your time. It has been a pleasure to speak with you. And
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck with the release of See No Evil 2, and we'll definitely be there. I'm actually going to be running into the girls down at Texas Frightmare, so I'll say hi for you and everything. So,
of course.
okay, awesome. All right.